Look at that. Effective. Quickly, so do we want them to stand at the podium or do we want them to come sit down? The trustees,
Probably with the podium, nobody sees them online.
yeah, last time the Cena had her camera pointed towards them so they could see them, but we don't have the technology right now because I didn't budget. So we haven't come up.
I don't care how we do it. Which, these are all departmental budgets, right? Yeah. These are all departmental budgets, correct?
Yeah, it's a
Not the sewer.
the sewer's in there too at the end. If you want to give them all to me, I can organize them as we talk.
That's the departmental budget. Yeah. Here is
Yes. Ready to start the meeting?
Right, like to call this meeting to order, select board at budget meeting at 10 o'clock on the 13th. Citizens comments?
First, additions, deletions to the agenda.
Yeah.
I have nothing. I don't know if anyone else has anything. No.
Okay. So,
Citizens comments.
I just asked that.
Well, I interrupted you, that's why I didn't know.
That's agenda.
After,
No, that's the trustees.
so FY25 budget, the order we have right now is Pentangle, Tarma Center, the library, and the rec center.
That works.
That works.
So where did you decide you wanted?
Right here, please, yeah.
I just brought our budget because I thought maybe it'd be helpful, but I forgot we have folks that are, no. Okay, for about 5 minutes then.
Yeah.
So I think everybody knows that Pentangle was founded in 1974. We moved into the building in 1988 and have since been the steward of the town hall projection booth. We pay for the cleaning of the foyer, the portico, not the portico, the foyer, the stairs, the bathrooms, to the tune of about $20,000 a year. I think the expenses that are probably relevant for this discussion, this out. Our movie operation used to be a winner for us, and now it's getting a little harder since COVID. So it may just be a break even. The other expenses that we cover, in addition to the $925 we pay in rent, is we pay the electric heating and cooling of the theater. And that is our utility budget, which is about 20,000 because the shape is so inefficient. 17,585, depending on what the winter looks like. That's probably a bit conservative. We also, as you know, the town owns the projector. It was purchased in 2014. I think it was through a bond, but we pay for the service contract, any repairs and maintenance on it, and that's about $5,000 a year. As everything is aging in the building, our plumbing expenses have gone up, whether it's the toilets or our sinks. So that's just routine maintenance that is increasing with everything else. The town funds really help us cover those expenses. So I can leave this with you guys. But so if you figure, and this may not be the right way to look at it, but $20,000 in cleaning, $5,000 in dealing with the projector, and another $17,000 to heat and cool the building. Now we are working with the town on getting a grant for the HVAC unit in the back, and that would certainly make it more efficient because it is literally going, every year I say it's on its last leg. Well, now it's 34 years old. It's definitely on its last leg, but it does heat and it does cool. The two units are completely separate. So the money that we have in the budget, I feel that we do We deliver a community service. So we screen 44 weekends of movies. Our movie operation, as I said, will be lucky if it breaks. Expenses for running the movie theater is about 56,000. That includes the payroll. And right now it's tracking to make about 56,000. But we have had some good movies come along or are coming along, and that always helps. We just came off a very successful Wassail weekend where probably 1,000 people came through the venue. And the highlight for me was the almost 400 kids that came to Cookies with Santa, which was a free event, and then stayed on for a free show. So I think as we all work together in the town to make Wassail Weekend a big deal, Pentangle has, every year been part of that, trying to create programming that is appealing and affordable. And this year it certainly was. The other service we do is we allow school children to come in to see live musical theater. It's professional. It's a $6 ticket price. It is no charge for the Bethel, Royalton, and Randolph area, because they wouldn't be able to come if we charge them. We use the theater for things like Zach's Place, who performs an annual musical. We charge them an absolute minimal rate just to cleaning, and they're in the theater for a month, 3 days a week, and then for a one-night performance. The elementary school uses the theater for things like Show Your Stuff, which is its annual talent show, and it packs the house just like Zach's Place does. So all in all, our budget is a little over 300,000. It's not huge. It's lean, as lean as we can make it, but I think we're all experienced in the village that our aging buildings are costing more, and we're no exception in the work and the maintenance that we have to do in our area. So are there any questions?
I have a few, but
So,
What is your budget year?
It's fiscal year, July 1st to.
And what will you be asking on the special petition?
The same 42,000. We kept it level. So this is my 9th year. We kept it level for about the first 4 years. Then we had some major issues. The heating and cooling wasn't working, so I lost a lot of rental income. Then we had a sewer explosion in the green room, so we couldn't use it for a show. And so that's when, the board said, why don't we just add a couple thousand? That's what we did. And then in the town budget, it's level funded as well.
do you get funding from the other towns?
Very little. We get 800 from Pomfret, and we get 900, sometimes Reading, yes, sometimes not. But Barnard is 900, which is great because their schools come to our shows. And so I think it's great that they support us in that way.
So it's not earth shattering money.
Hey, every $100
No.
counts. And I think you guys probably know that I still remain the only full-time staff person. So I do think we run a relatively lean payroll. We have 11 part-time people. Some are very part-time, like our concession kids. We have 11 of those. They're all high school kids. They make a little more than minimum.
For the $36,000 that is kind of wrapped into the overall budget, is that budget anywhere specific, or is that just $36,000 you use for a bunch of
I
different
think,
things?
is it, it's not budgeted specifically.
Okay.
But I raised the items that I think, allow us to maintain our piece of the building, but also I do see like the movie operation as a community service. And I try to imagine Woodstock without a place where people could come to the movies. And it's conceivable that people would say, it's not worth it. I remain to think that the arts and the movie theater drive the community. It's a place where community does gather, and it keeps us connected in a very disconnected world.
In a world where Pentangle did not receive the $36,000 or less, or the $42,000, would the cost of admission to the public have to increase for some movies, plays, et cetera, to kind of help Pentangle survive? Would that be something that would happen next?
I would hate to do that. Our price points are very reasonable for the Upper Valley. I think this town has become too exclusive as it is. So that would be, I would prefer that if we did not receive that money, then I would, bust my butt looking for more money, but that would be my last, honestly, that,
So another way to phrase it is costs can stay low because this money helps keep the costs low for residents and the public.
yeah, and we do, I mean, we do incrementally as the cost of concession goes up. It's not like we give it away, but as far as the ticket price, we are the lowest in the Upper Valley. And I'd like it to remain so.
When's the last time you raised the ticket price?
We raised it 2 years ago.
So I guess my last question, which probably should have started with this, and it's my fault, is we kind of asked yourself and the organizations here today, because traditionally some of this money has been increased in just the overall town budget, to kind of give the public a more transparency into where that money is gonna go and how it's gonna be spent. Because it is different than the petitions where people have to vote on it and all that stuff. So is there anything else you want to kind of say about Pentangle and why this money is important to you and Pentangle, and why taxpayers dollars should continue to fund it going forward?
Yeah, well, I would go back to, I think we provide a community service, and we are in the center of the village. And I think that we have worked collaboratively with the town as tenants for many, many years. And I think it's important for people to know those doors are open. I very rarely say no to anybody that wants to utilize the space, particularly for nonprofits. So in addition, we provide a nice rental venue, which has been attractive to people and businesses. So I think we do our best to bring in different revenue streams. Rentals happens to be one of our best ones, but it's never nearly enough to offset the expense of actually opening the building. We, unless we really want to gouge somebody, but we try to, bring in 10 or 15,000 a year. So I guess I would just say that our staff and our board are really committed to the community and to providing community service, and we're open to feedback and suggestions. Obviously, the biggest thing on my mind, in addition to keeping the organization, which is turning 50 next year, going, is the fate of this building. And I think we are inextricably linked to what happens with this building. And there's been a lot of conversations about moving town offices. And certainly a number of people have asked me, where could you go? Where would you go? Could you use the high school? And my answer is no. I mean, honestly, the center of the village is where community space needs to be. And I personally don't see another option, but if someone's got an idea out there, I don't think building a new theater makes any sense. I think what we have can be, with the $3 million, can shore up the work that should be done to maintain the safety of the building and to seal up the envelope. That work should be done if there is any concern of keeping this building over the next period of years.
That's a different conversation.
Yes, I know it is, but
Let's,
but I would,
I understand, but let's stick to what
right,
we.
but as I said, I think if you want me to have a message to the community and you want this community organization to stay here, we certainly need a home. That would be my point.
Carrie, Laura, do you have any questions online?
I do not.
Nope, Susan asked all my questions. Thanks.
Anyone, any questions in the public? Okay, thank you very much.
As Deanna comes to the table, I want to disclose that I'm on the board of the Thompson.
But I didn't ask her for any input on this presentation.
I'm also on the Thompson board. I should disclose.
I do Milton Field, where you can't get anything.
So I am happy to talk about my favorite place in the whole world. What I'm handing out, it's also in our annual report for those online. So I know Carrie's seen it, but it just gives a summary of what we do in the community. I won't go through all those statistics because most of you know Meals on Wheels is growing. We offer local transportation. We've added a home share program that's been successful, and we've expanded our aging at home support to include handyman services this year. The statistics are on there as well. We're also an enormous resource in the community during any emergency, flooding most recently as an example, even snowstorms, making sure that people have food that they need at home in advance of storms, and then checking on them during storms to make sure they still have what they need. So those are some of the behind the scene things. And what I really wanted to share with you is some growth statistics as well that really relate specifically to the budget, of course. So in 2013, we started our electronic software system, My Senior Center. And in that year alone, we had 799 people sign up to be a member of the Thompson. They check in and out on that program. So that was 10 years ago, 799. And those are not people we sign up. They have to physically sign up and to be part of that system. This year we have 2,376 in that system, which is immense growth, and 1,700 of them were currently active over the past year. And this does not include people that come in as one-time guests, just get a wheelchair, don't sign up in the system, you know, those kind of things. Over 50% of those people are from Woodstock, are active members. Woodstock's median age is 49 years old, and I think this all indicates that we should really expect similar growth in the next 10 years. The number that you have on those sheets, we had over 12,000 Meals on Wheels last year, and 10 years ago we had 5,000. Meals on Wheels. So it's significant growth in every area. What all of this means for the Thompson, a couple of things. We're very effective in reaching the older population in Woodstock and the surrounding towns. We reach over 50% of our older adult community, serving people from age 50 to 103. And the average senior center in a rural area reaches 11% of the population of their census. So we're very effective in serving our community. How this all impacts the budget is increased cost in every area, from food to staffing, in order to keep up with the demand. We've recently, in the last year, implemented our next 5-year strategic plan, and responding to a community survey that we do every 5 years, have implemented the newer programs like the Handyman for Odd Jobs, and that was a new staff position. And we've increased staff to include, for the first time ever, an assistant director, which is also with the goal of helping us expand our aging at home services and keep up with the demand and you know, be able to, for capacity. Our total expense budget this year is $811,000. For income, we budgeted $708,000, and this means that we'll withdraw from our invested funds $102,000. So the total town funding from all the towns that we serve is 9% of our budget. We ask Woodstock, or we depend on Woodstock for $11,000 as a line item in the budget, and we're petitioning this year for $43,200. So this is a total from Woodstock of $54,200. We've been 4 years without asking for an increase, but the petitioned amount is an increase this year to help us keep up with the demand. All of it goes toward operating funds, the programs, the meals, the staffing to respond to needs. And that, in a nutshell, until you have questions, is my presentation.
I'll have the same question. Do you get funding from other towns?
We do, yep. And it's comparable in other towns to what other nonprofits ask those same towns. Yep, ranging from 3,000 to 7,000 each.
And you also are on a fiscal July 1 year, or?
September 30th. Yeah, October 1st started our new fiscal year.
So I have the same question I had for Pentangle. If for some reason you not received the $53,000, what kind of impact would that have on the Thompson Center?
Sure. So the whole amount that we get in the budget and the petition. Well, I mean, it would very well mean a cut to programming. We had a cut for programming for meals, a year ago, and we had to really scramble to fundraise to raise that additional amount. But we did eliminate grab and goes, which were the pickup meals, and I could see something similar happen for as an important part of our budget. If you look at the overall pie pieces, we're not overly dependent on one piece of that pie, but it would have an impact for sure, and it would mean additional fundraising or finding grants that we're already really at capacity for. Fundraising is the biggest piece of our pie already, along with what we draw from our invested funds. So that it would be detrimental, certainly.
Do you know how much you fundraise per year? Like the.
I do.
I saw you flip up the books. I
Yeah.
assume you did, yeah.
Oh, it's like you might be asking me that question. So last year, our fiscal year that just ended in September, it was 40% of our overall budget was fundraising, which is primarily our gala and every winter in January, February, our annual appeal, and then special fund drives for Meals on Wheels. And we're very active. Our board and staff is committed to having a diverse, funding revenue sources. We advocate with the state and federal for additional funding. We've made progress in that for the first time in all of the years that I've been here, which is 13 years now, this past year for the first time. So it's, something that we're all really committed to is having multiple different, we're not just relying on the town or grants, but many sources.
And then you talked about potential the growing population in the area. Do you feel the need to have to expand in the coming years? And if so, do you have a plan for how that expansion will go and the costs
Yes.
associated with it?
So separate from our operating budget and fundraising for our operating budget, we have a capital campaign underway, and we're targeting right now 1.9, so $2 million. And we've secured Estes and Gallup to do that project, and we're waiting for their final cost estimates, but they're anticipating starting in the spring, as soon as the ground thaws. And it's, based on the capacity, we have waiting lists already on holidays and many other times. We turn over every room multiple times a day to meet the needs of what people want to host and have there. So it is a expanded kitchen, which is the first phase and most important because of the meal numbers that I talked about. We can't fit another staff member in that kitchen that we currently have to be able to make more meals. And that number for Meals on Wheels and total meals would be higher if we hadn't had a waiting list and discontinued grab and goes. So we must have a larger kitchen. So that's the first phase. And then once the kitchen is completed, obviously we need a bigger dining room. So that's the second part of the project as well. But I can share that at another time if there's interest. But none of this request is related to the capital project.
Laura, Kerry, any questions?
Hi, I was wondering how many staff the Thompson Center employs.
We have 8 FTEs.
And do you expect to expand that as your programming expands?
We have expanded it. We added, our handyman is only 6 hours a week, but our regular program staffing has increased in this fiscal year that we're currently in with the assistant director. And that is a full-time position that took 15 hours from another position. But we are increasing staffing with a new building. I do anticipate that we would have to have another full-time kitchen staff most likely, and possibly sort of a receptionist, admin, scheduling type of person as well. But our staff includes the maintenance person, 2 part-time drivers, Meals on Wheels coordinator, the kitchen staff, myself and a business manager, and the program roles combined with an assistant director and a very part-time marketing person.
Great, thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity
Thank you.
and
appreciate
good
it.
luck.
Thank you.
Library. Hi. And we've been lax in asking people to say what their names were for the record.
Oh, my name is Claire McFarland, for the record. And this is Michael
I'm
Ricci,
Michael Ricci.
who's here with me today. The library on the Green is one of the busiest buildings, I would assume, in town. We, just this past weekend, we had over 3,000 people come through the door just for Wassail. Our annual visits number 70,000 people coming to the library each year. We have a budget of 651,000, 30% of which is budgeted from the town. The rest is provided by our spring appeal and a fall appeal that we do, other fundraising efforts, and grants that we write. We do a lot of historic preservation grants for our building that was built in 1883, which requires a lot of maintenance. And I think that we do a good job of keeping it looking great, pulled together, keeping everything in working order, but that takes a lot of funding. And Michael, our main grant writer, is responsible for doing that for us. We have 3,000 patrons at the library, 3,000 library cards. And we have, last year, we circulated 42,400 books. We are the 4th heaviest circulating library in the state of Vermont. And even though we have such a small town, we are considered one of the largest libraries in the state.
My volume of material.
By volume
that-
of material.
And this year, our electronic borrowing came very close to the number of books.
Physical items.
That went out the door. And for electronic items, people don't even have to come to the library. Many of our senior people take download Kindles or download a movie or a program.
Right.
That they can use at home.
And in line with that, also, in the last couple of years, we have started doing deliveries to homebound individuals. And we also do deliveries to the Woodstock Terrace. Every monthly, we'd go to the Woodstock Terrace. We have bags that we put together for people who can't make it into the library, and we deliver them to their homes for them. Just today, we have 244 school children coming into the library. We have half of them are coming from Wes, and the other half is coming from the Prosper Valley School, and they'll get together and read to one another. We have been spending a lot of time at the Prosper Valley School, working with the teachers on literacy programs for the children because they don't have a librarian in that school. So we have been sending our children's librarian over there on a regular basis to work with the teachers on those programs, and also helping to provide books and guidance on purchase of books for their classroom libraries. We average upwards of 40 children every afternoon after school. Those numbers dropped during COVID, obviously, and we are building those numbers back up again. Children descend upon the library at 3 o'clock every afternoon and are there, many of them are there until 6 o'clock when we close. We provide programming for them. Often there's snacks for children who don't bring their own snacks. In our regular program and adult programming, we had over, let's see, programming, 522 programs just this past year with over 4,000 people attending these programs. We also have 258 meetings for organizations that needed meeting space. We provided that for 258 individuals this past year. Anything further that you want to add that I'm not thinking of?
There are 10 libraries of our volume in the state of Vermont. Our payroll is the lowest of all of those. Our circulation is among the highest. And only 2 of those are, we are an incorporated library, not a municipal library. Only 2 of those of our 10 are municipal library, are incorporated libraries. And we receive roughly one half to 2/3 of the amount of support from the towns that provide support to them.
Any questions?
So I have the same question. What other towns are you getting funding for? And is it special articles or are you in their budget?
We're in the Bridgewater budget for $3,500.
I'm sorry, 5,000.
5,000,
Yeah.
yes, it increased this year to 5,000. Thank you.
And who can get a library card? Do you have to be a resident of Woodstock, or what's the,
Anyone who's not a resident of Woodstock can get a library card for $70 a year for a family. All school children automatically, no matter what town they live in. If they're in our school district, they get a library card. Teachers get library cards.
And your fiscal year is,
July 1,
or your count budget?
yeah,
year?
July 1.
And how much is your special article to Woodstock?
It is 51,250, and this will be the 5th year that it's the same amount.
And you don't do petitions in other towns?
We do in Bridgewater.
But the other towns you don't get any funding from.
We do.
We do not.
You charge for the meeting areas?
I'm sorry?
Do you charge a service fee for the meeting areas?
No.
We don't charge for anything aside from our fundraising events.
Right.
I'll have the same question, Brian, if everyone, if you were to receive the 154 and the 51.2 or whatever it was, how that impacts the ability to provide services to the community?
I think the first thing we would have to look at would be cutting the hours of the library, which would impact the community, because chances are we would cut the after-school hours, and it would lessen places for those after-school children to go. We may have to close for one day a week or something.
You're open how many days?
We're open 6 days a week. And we have a lot of children on Saturdays as well as after-school hours.
And there's no thought of getting funding from other towns that are in the school district?
There hasn't been, no.
Each of the other towns has their own tiny library, so it's difficult for them to provide us support.
Right. And Barnard has it in their budget that if a family comes in and pays their $70, they have a certain amount of money, and I don't know what that amount is. In their budget, you can take your bill to the town hall and they will reimburse families for that amount of money until that budget is gone.
Laura, Carrie, any questions? Anyone else?
I'm good.
Okay, thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
Devine, Woodstock Rec Center. So I sent you all a little bit of information ahead of time. But we are a big collaborator with the town and have been for many years. I've worked at the rec for 21 years. We provide all sports programming for kindergarten through 6th grade. Well, now actually we start in pre-K. So now we do pre-K through 6th grade. Yeah, it's funny to watch those little pre-K kids out there. Just organized chaos. We also manage Vale Field and take care of all of the plumbing and maintenance and electrical and upkeep of that property. And then we have the rec center and the theater. This year we sustained about $80,000 in flood damage, which I have been working really hard at grant writing to get us to the stage that we're at. We got it back open in about 8 weeks, with sort of just piecing together stages of rebuilding. We still haven't rebuilt the kitchen downstairs there. That's on hold, and that is primarily because I still am waiting to get a person from FEMA assigned to us. We're considered low priority. We don't enter the same, because we're a nonprofit, we don't apply the same way as a individual or municipality. We apply on a whole different website that is underfunded and understaffed. Shocking, I know. So we're still working on that, but I'm happy to say that we won't be asking for any special articles, and I plan on continuing to raise all of that funds through grant writing to get that project complete. I gave you a very long list of all of the programs that we provide, youth, adults, events, really anything someone comes to us with, we're going to give it a shot. We do have a small staff. We have 4 full-time staff, and in the summer, we have about 25 part-time staff, a lot of lifeguards and day camp counselors. With the growing community, we had a lot of people move in with young children. Our programming needs have jumped. The amount of equipment that we need to provide all of the programs has almost doubled. And like with our day camp program, we filled with a waiting list this year. So next year, we will be opening it up for a month to residents first. So residents will have the first opportunity to fill those spots in our camp program, and then it will go out to our surrounding communities. We do receive some funds from Bridgewater, but all of the towns that we do not receive funds from, they pay a higher fee to do any program with us. So Woodstock and Bridgewater residents pay a resident fee, and all of the other towns pay a non-resident fee.
What's that fee?
It's about a $10 difference.
I mean, but dollar-wise, how much is the fee?
So let's say basketball is $40 for residents, it'd be $50 for non-residents. And it's different for every single program. And depending on the grade level, kindergarten is less expensive than 6th grade because we don't hire refs. But for all of those programs, though, all of our coaching staff is volunteers. So we recruit and train and oversee hundreds of volunteers a year. And we have a small amount of money that we get from the Faulkner Trust every year. Back when it was set up in the 1800s, $1 million was a lot of money. Not so much these days. So, we get interest off of that and how they invest it. So we receive about $50,000 a year. Our operating budget is a little over $600,000 a year. So the piece that we get from the trust is very small. So we definitely rely on the town a lot, but in the opposite sense of that, we are the only rec center that's not a rec department, that's not a full department of the town and fully funded. So we're very proud of that because it does take a big burden off the taxpayers that I go to a lot of conferences and meetings, and we recently have had Norwich sort of looking into how they could sort of do what we do, and they all kind of sit down and look at it all and back away. So we are unique, but we're very proud of it, and I think it works well. And our fiscal year ends August 31st.
As a quick clarifying question, on the sheet you provided for us, you have the Vail Field total, cost is 94,700. Is that the total cost to run Vail Field as complete, or is that the money that the town money will go towards Vail Field?
That's generally the complete,
Okay,
as best as I can say. You know, some years we have like massive plumbing bills or something. It is I know this is shocking, the infrastructure around here is aging.
the first I heard of that.
So yeah, it's no different over there, you know, well, if there's a water main break or, you know, it's a seasonal building, so there's often a lot of plumbing issues.
And for clarification, Vail Field's owned by the village, but the rec center
Yes, Vail Field
operates it
is
and
owned.
maintains it. And
Yep, we maintain it and do our best to keep it looking nice. And we've put a lot of money into Vail Field. You know, about $100,000 over the last 2 years to really get the baseball fields up and going again. And there's more to come. We have a lot of invested individuals to put more money into that facility. So with that comes more maintenance and more upkeep. And we were talking about, you know, we have a cleaning person at the rec center, but as far as Vail Field goes, we have one maintenance guy, Joel and myself, and we take turns over there in the summer, you know, picking up, cleaning bathrooms, emptying trash. We sort of do it all. We do have a small staff, so like I'm IT, I'm marketing, I'm the grant writer.
Is that where most of the flood damage was, or was it up
Most of
here?
the flood damage was at the wreck, so we did have flood damage at Vail Field as well. But it wasn't to the extent that it was over in our facility. Yeah, and Vail ended up flooding 3 times.
Right,
So that was Matt and Joel out there every time shoveling all of the silt
filled
off of Vail Field all 3 times that it flooded. Yeah, so cheers to them.
Yeah.
They really went above and beyond.
You oversee the theater. correct?
Yes, yes.
Daycare center.
There's a daycare downstairs. Yep. So that we got that open and up and running again within 4 weeks of their opening date, which we're very proud of. I ended up sort of taking on the GC role of that project and just piecing it together with
Band-Aids.
Band-Aids and whoever. You come in and you build this and you paint this and you do this section of wiring, and I will be on call 24/7 to unlock the doors whenever you need to get in there.
The same questions for everyone else. So, is the money you receive from the town, does that allow you to keep like fees and stuff lower than normal?
It does. It allows us to, and we try to keep our fees, you know, on par with what others are charging, but not inaccessible. We also won't turn a child away. So if the school comes to me and says, we have this child and playing the sport would be really good for them and they can't afford to pay, then we will let them play at no fee. So yeah, the town, if we didn't have the town funding, I'm not sure how we would continue to operate because we are like such a partnership in that way. But yeah, we do try to keep the fees affordable, even with sporting equipment more than doubled in price across the board. since COVID. It's been crazy to see how much all of that has gone up.
Carrie, Laura, you have a question?
I do. Ray, I have a few questions. I have questions in a lot of places, but I guess I'll just start here. I'm Laura, by the way. I live right across from Vale Field, and I was very impressed with how quickly the silt got shoveled back after the flooding. And also just like the work that was done on the diamond this year was great. There's a line item in our budget separate from the funding you're requesting for that's a bonder payment for the Little Theater. And as someone that's new to the board, I was wondering, especially given that you've been here for so long, what the history of that is. Seeing as we're two separate, the rec department isn't under the town. I'm just wondering if you had any insight into that.
I absolutely do. So, Tropical Storm Irene, the theater was under 6 feet of water. So all of the systems in there were taken out, the plumbing, the heating, the electrical, the whole building had to be gutted. There was a childcare facility in there, and the upstairs gets rented like 7 days a week. So it's used a lot by the community. We were of the mindset that we might just close that building down. It probably made more sense. We brought it to the voters to see what they preferred. So the town actually voted to pay the bond to repair that building to be reopened, so that it could be utilized.
Okay, great. Thank you. And that's actually a good segue because my next question is, given where your properties are located, the theater and the rec center and Vale, I'm wondering, kind of like looking towards the future, have there been any discussions about the future of those locations and how, and given the flooding this summer too, kind of what's best for the rec center and how you guys might sustain like future damage, and how that would impact programming and yeah, kind of what the thought is around there.
That is a big discussion. However, I have researched quite a bit of that. As far as the fields, while it's a lot of manual labor, like I think Vale Field, it makes sense for that. You can clear the silt off and the branches and the trees, and you can get it back to functioning condition. A few things with our facilities and our buildings. There was work done on the river edge in other parts of Woodstock after Irene. There was no work done down behind the rec center. There is a pathway and a break in the stone wall, and that's always been there as far as I know. If there was work done there to sort of build that area up, that is where all the water came in. So it's like the path of least resistance, and it comes up that walkway from the river and it goes right into those areas. So if the state, comes and puts funding into that again, that is one area that would make a huge, huge difference, to say whether or not any water would get up there in another flooding incident. There's also a couple other things I looked into. I don't know if you've seen some of the storms in the south, and they put this barrier around one of the hospitals and it kept all the water out. So each section is like $5,000 to $7,000. But our buildings were built in the 1800s, and water is not coming in anywhere but the windows or doors. So you could actually get those that could go on during a flooding event to keep the water out. That would be another way to prevent it from, if we knew something was coming. I mean, this storm this summer was a little bit more unexpected than, we had a bit more warning. With Irene, we just didn't think it was going to come in the form of a flood. We more had things strapped down for that event.
All right, thank you. And then my last question is, looking towards the future and kind of the demands that you've talked about and increased programming, have there been discussions or considerations for alternative sources of income or figuring out kind of like how to match that need without raising fees, or is it raising fees and what of those,
It will likely be a combination of raising fees and consistently looking for more grant funding.
That's it. That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I just want to thank all the organizations for coming today. I think this is a great way for the public to get a little more insight into what all you guys do and service you provide and where the tax dollars go. So thank you all. I appreciate it.
You all that you do, really.
Other business?
So the business, so I don't know if we want to discuss another time for a budget meeting. We're getting kind of close to the end of the month. Which we kind of want to kind of lock this down. So we do have a scheduled meeting next Tuesday.
It's a lot on each.
A lot on agenda. But we kind of want to make sure we have this. I was having a conversation to get to the point where we feel somewhat confident about the budget before we get ideally into the holidays and the new year, and then, so we're not running around the last second, but
I mean, I could, if we want to do something at the end of the week,
this week,
well, the only time there's a chance to look at your revision and
Susan, when are you leaving again?
I leave Tuesday. But I'm kind of, between now and then is a little crazed. I could do something on Zoom maybe, but I don't think I can get here again. I
Um,
work Thursday, Friday I have a funeral. Friday afternoon, maybe.
are you planning that?
A funeral?
Yes, I don't know.
No, to go to a funeral.
Yeah.
What about Monday during the day? Does that work for anyone?
Is the, finance committee,
12:30.
is it 12? Yeah, I can do Monday morning. Or
I can do Monday after 10.
morning.
Not either, unless it's really early. I'm at the inn 9 to 5 and there's nobody working with me.
Really early,
Yeah,
5:30.
7?
I'll do 5:30 on Zoom maybe. I don't know how we.
Come on,
Can we
guys.
do, Monday night?
We can, yeah, I think, Nikki, do you know if anything scheduled Monday night?
And we're Monday and Tuesday night.
Yeah, Monday night shouldn't be that long.
Hopefully.
There's nothing on Monday.
How's Monday night for Laura and Carrie?
That's fine.
I can do Monday night, that's fine.
Would like 5:30?
The earlier the better, it's better for me, so, yeah.
5:30 works.
Greg, does that work for you? Depending on the weather?
I'll figure it out.
Great.
It should be easier.
Doesn't snow anymore. It's just frickin' rain.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
5:30.
This Monday, this coming.
Somebody's gonna have to go to my house.
Why'd you unpack that?
Because I was in a cold environment and next I'm going to a warm environment.
For the Monday meeting, do we want to have budget discussion and vote, or budget discussion, continuation, just so we can be transparent to the public?
I would just say,
I would be prepared for a vote. I mean, we're getting pretty close.
yeah.
I mean, we always not vote, but I don't know if there's a,
We can table.
a
It's better to schedule.
consideration of vote, and maybe we can say that just so the public knows that it could be
Possible.
Yeah.
possible, yeah.
That's fine.
So okay with you, Carrie and Laura?
Yes.
And in case anybody is watching this between now and Tuesday.
Oh, yes.
Do you wanna?
Yeah, so Tuesday meeting, we're gonna have the state senator Clarkson and Representative Tetra Bush come to talk about kind of school tax, how it gets calculated, options going down the road. We know with the potential of the new high school, and how the state kind of collects taxes for schools, that it could be a burden for Woodstock residents. So we want them to come and kind of discuss what it could look like going forward, so we can have more information for the public. So if you're watching, I don't think anyone is looking at the Zoom, but if you read the minutes, Tuesday is a great opportunity to kind of come and ask some questions of our local representatives. And there's gonna be an article in the Standard tomorrow about it. We'll share that article on our Facebook page as well, and we'll put it on the serve as well, I think.
I'll
to-
do my letter again. the
Yeah.
same. I'll just repost
Yeah.
what I posted before.
Yeah.
On listserv, if that's okay with everyone.
Okay, any other business? Motion to adjourn,
So
So
moved.
moved.
all those in favor,
Aye,
Aye.
we're adjourned. Thank you.
thank you.
One thing I forgot.
What makes it Monday and Tuesday?
Concerned, and maybe Greg is